Nigel wasn't. Nigel wasn't
Nigel.
here.
Peter, don't forget to press record. I don't want to interrupt you.
Thanks, Nigel. Hang on, this is really slow. I suspect one of my kids is on YouTube. I'm just going to send some text out because they forget. It's probably my wife. Give me a sec. And one more. Okay. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so we've got some triplets.
No, press record.
I've done it.
Oh, okay.
Yep, it's definitely recording. Okay, so now they're all responding. Okay. There we go. The message has got through. Let me turn off my phone now. Okay. All right. Okay, so we looked at some tied notes. We've looked at some triplets and some. So here's another tied note in bar 8. So the tenor note. How many beats for that note?
Which one?
This is bar 8. The tenor note.
3.5.
6.5.
3.5.
Oh no, it says rest there.
So how many beats for the minim with a dot?
2,
3.
3, correct.
That's 4 beats.
And how many notes for the quaver?
Half.
Half?
Yeah.
So we have 3.5 in total.
Plus
That particular
plus the
note.
rest.
Yeah. 3.5.
Well, the
Quite
rest.
long enough for a tenor note.
I think. Okay. Okay, so there's something interesting at the top next to intro. We haven't really talked about this, but you can see what it's got there. So it's got 2 quavers equals a crotchet and a quaver triplet. Who knows what that means?
It means the arranger wasn't in a legal state of mind.
No, not quite. Okay, so
yeah, he's expressing the triplet as 3 eighth notes.
no, that's not quite what it means. Essentially what it means is the arranger or the composer want you to swing this song. So in other words, just for simplicity, instead of writing triplets or throughout the whole song, he's going to write every quaver, like Baby, for example. He's going to write it as quavers. So it looks like this, or da-da, but what he wants you to do is to sing it like this, da-da. So it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da, instead of the boring da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So if we find a bar that's full of that.
That change of emphasis makes it swing, does it? And that's the,
Yeah. Well, if we look here, so in bar 9, so if we were to sing it as it's written, we would sing, after you've gone. But with the swing, we're going to sing, after you've gone. So you'll see this fairly commonly in barbershop music. It makes it a lot easier to read, to put this little notation up here. It's a lot easier to read 2 quavers, and then you just know that those 2 quavers are going to be short, long, short, long, short, sorry, long, short, long, short, long, short. Yeah. And as you probably know, as barbershoppers, we often ignore the rhythm anyway and do our own thing because we kind of make it conversational rather than sticking exactly to the rhythm of the song. So everyone know what I mean by conversational?
Yep.
No? Okay, that's all right. So So often we will make the rhythm of a song in the same rhythm as we would say the words. Actually, there's a really good example of this. It is what's it called? Sound Celebration. Okay, so let's have just a quick look at the beginning of this one. Whoops, that's a bit too big. There we go. Okay, so if we were to sing this as it's written, we would sing, "Come celebrate the," sorry, that's how we sing it. If we were to sing it as it's written, we would sing, "Come celebrate the sound." Kind of boring. When we say celebrate, think of the rhythm, celebrate. So we sing it in that rhythm.
Da, da, da.
Come celebrate the sound. That's kind of how we would say, come celebrate the sound. And so often in barbershop, even though we're learning all about these rhythms, in places we're going to ignore rhythms and actually make it conversational. Make sense? Yeah?
Yep.
Does that
Yeah.
make the song boring?
It actually, it should do the opposite. There are many examples of, in my opinion, where they take that too far, and it kind of ruins a song. That's my opinion. Obviously, other people think it's great, but so I think that needs to be done with care and musically. Sometimes it's done so much that the song just ceases to have rhythm and it's just a whole mush of words. That's what I think. So we might talk about that later. I'll actually show you some examples. We'll bring up some YouTube videos in another session. Anyway, for today, we're looking at rhythm. And so let's have a look at this song while we're here. Key signature, sorry, time signature.
4/4.
Which means?
4/4.
Common time.
Yeah, it means common
4 beats
time.
in the bar.
For what sort of beats?
Crotchet.
4 crotchet beats in the bar.
Quarter.
Okay, so here in the second bar, or bar 1, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 crotchet beats. Okay, one thing that I haven't talked about yet, and you'll notice it in the first bar here, it's actually not a whole bar. It's only 2 beats in that first bar. And if we go to the end of the song, and they haven't done it right, okay, that's right. So this is called a pickup bar, and this is quite common that the first bar does not contain all the right amount of beats. It might just have one note. Often it might be a quaver or a crotchet, just as a pickup, because that's the rhythm that the song's going to go in. So you'll commonly see the first bar is not full. It's only a part of a bar. And what should happen according to the rules is that the last bar should be minus the same number of beats that the first bar has used up. So this last bar should only be 2 beats, but it's 4. It's not the end of the world, but that's technically.
Must be what makes it around.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's not really a big problem, but that's the musical rule that should happen, and who cares if it doesn't. Okay, let's have a look at what else is going on here.
Peter, would that be any different if there was a minimum rest in the first bar?
Not really, no. It's just a waste of space, really, to put a minimum rest, but it wouldn't change the song at all. But yes, you could do that.
I mean, if you were conducting this, you would go 1, 2, and then start on 3.
I wouldn't.
to indicate the rhythm you were about to give us.
I would go to come, celebrate the sound. So I would give you the beat before, not 2 beats before.
Okay.
In this case, for this particular song. Let's have a look at some other pickup measures while we're talking about that, just so we get that one. And now I want one. No one's going to do it. Here's one. So Daydream. Let's blow this one up a bit. So you can see this one starts with a single quaver in the pickup bar. So it's in 4/4 again, but only one quaver in the first bar. And let's see if the arranger, and they didn't do the last bar right anyway. That's okay. We'll forgive them for that one. So quite a common. Okay, so this one here. So this is 12/8. We haven't really looked at 12/8, but tell me what it means.
All right.
You've got 12,
Mm.
12 quavers in a bar.
Correct. Yes. Okay, so the first bar is a pickup bar because it's only got how many quavers in the first bar?
3.
Correct. Yeah. So we've got 3 quavers as a pickup bar there. Okay.
Oh, they're missing a dot. Just go back for a second. Bar 2 in the tenor line has a dotted rest, a dotted semi-breve rest, but they're missing the dot in bar 1.
Is that a dotted semi-breve rest?
Oh, sorry, no, it's not.
It's a full bar.
It's a dotted minim rest.
It's a dotted minim. So remember, so this one here is a semi-breve rest because it's hanging off the top of the line. If it's sitting down on the line, it's a minim rest. So this one in bar 2 is sitting on the line, and so that makes it a minim rest. Something I should point out, a semi-breve rest is taken to mean a whole bar of rest, even when...
If you're in a different meter.
Yeah, because there's more than 4 crotchets in these bars, but a semi-breve rest still means a whole bar of rest.
Right.
That just makes it easier to read. Okay.
Excuse me, Peter.
Yes.
What is that? Oh. That where you were, sorry, there was a dot down below a note, but it wasn't right underneath it. With, do you hear the people sing? Yeah. The end of bar 1.
The end of bar 1.
Yes.
Oh, that dot there?
That,
yeah, that's a very special mark that's often used in music. It's called a fly
Smudge
speck.
on the page.
It was. I've tried to wipe it away.
And there's an even more squashy one above the I and the N of singing as well, the fainter. One that was squashed in an earlier photocopy.
Correct, yeah, so that's just a pencil mark or something on the music before it was copied. That's not part of the notation, but good spotting. Okay, here we go. We've got a 3/4. What does that mean?
3
2 crotchets
Three
in a
crotchets bar and each being a quarter note.
Correct. Okay, anything here that stands out that you want to ask about?
We're not up to sharps and flats yet, are we?
No. So that's the very next thing is working out notes. So at the moment we're only looking really at rhythms.
Righto. There's 2, and that's dotted, so it's a half.
So how long for one of these notes? How many beats?
1.
Oh,
One beat?
1.5, isn't it?
I wonder.
So how many?
3/4.
1.5.
Dotted crotchet, 1.5.
half a bit.
Correct. Yeah. So the crotchet is 1 beat on its own, and the dot makes it half longer again, which makes a dotted crotchet worth 1.5 beats.
Interestingly, in this particular arrangement, the dot is sometimes slightly above the line if it falls on the stave, like the ver of never, the dot is next to it, but on cities it's been put above it, otherwise it would merge into the line.
Correct. So it will always be in the space, the dot, otherwise you won't see it. So it depends on the note as to whether it's on the line or in the space.
Peter, there's some notation there that I'm not aware of at the beginning of what amounts to the second bar. Those
Second
little
bar?
The repeat
Yeah.
marks.
Yeah. Okay, so that's a good point. It's not really to do with rhythm, but let's cover it anyway. So these things, a double bar line, so you can see how you've got a thick line and a thin line. Sometimes there'll be two thin lines. It makes no difference. But where you see two bar lines, it's just really there to grab your attention so that you can see something's happening here. So the double bar line is there because of these two dots. And so when there's two dots at a bar line, it means repeat. So there'll be a repeat here. Okay, so what you would do with this song is you would start at the very beginning with the R, move straight through here, keep going all the way down through this bit, and you hit a double bar line with two dots.
Double bar
That's
line
it.
there.
Repeat.
Righto.
So you go back to bar one, or bar two, sorry, you go back to bar two, and you start again on verse 2.
2, and then with 3 the same.
And then,
There's the end of 1. There's the end of 2. Okay.
okay, so this is called a first time and a second time bar. So what you would do, so you go through it the first time, you repeat, you come back. When you get to the second time, when you get to here, you go to number 2.
Uh-huh.
And so you sing those 2 bars. Oh, hang on, there's a coda. This is a bit,
It's complicated because
this is not really notated properly, so I'm going to
Yeah.
leave it at
Then
that.
you go back to
Yeah,
3.
there's
Yeah,
3
this-
iterations, but there's no
Yeah.
number 3.
It's not really notated properly, so we're just going to leave that there, and I will show you this
Sorry.
in one that's better notated. No, that's okay. It's good to bring up, but that one's just not a good example. So normally what should happen is you have a first time bar, you go to that the first time. You have a second time bar, you go to that the second time. If there's a third time, which is different, which there is in this case, then there would be a third time bar. And there isn't one here. And then there's a coda as well, which is not really put in the right spot. So it doesn't
Okay.
quite work.
Oh, it's not on that, Peter.
Sorry?
Where's all the repeating on Irish Blessing?
There isn't any. I'm just talking about what should happen if that was the case. Okay, let's look at Irish Blessing. So 4/4, what does it mean?
All crotchets.
It's to the bar.
Correct. And above it this time, there's a little thing that says crotchet equals 80.
That's your metronome beat.
Yeah, so
There's
that's the
80
speed.
crotchets per minute.
Yeah. So if you have a metronome, then you set it to 80, and that's the speed of a crotchet. So it'll be about 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that kind of speed. Okay, so it gives you a very accurate idea of the speed that the composer or the arranger wants you to sing this song, which doesn't mean you have to sing it at that speed, but that's just kind of an idea. Okay, let's have a look through here. Nothing really complicated here. Yell out if you've got any questions. So here's an interesting one. See here, you've got May in the lead part has a beam across the bottom where the notes are joined. In all the other parts, the notes are just have tails on them individually. What's the difference?
Interesting. The tenor
Okay.
line has equal value on the notes. The lead line has a shorter value on May and a longer value on the.
No. So in fact, there is no difference. This is just that the
Good
software that the person has used to create this arrangement has for some reason put a beam in those two notes and not in the other two. So whether
Yeah, no, sorry, I was
quavers,
looking at.
whether quavers are joined with a beam or whether they're individual with tails, it makes absolutely no difference as far as how you sing or play those notes. The difference is, and the reason we have beams is because they're easier to read, but it actually doesn't matter.
I was reading that last note for the lead line as being a hollow note. But
Yeah, it's a
not.
bit greyed out, but no, they're exactly the same. You'll notice here in bar 4, the same thing's happened. You've got the tenor and lead notes beamed, and the baritone bass notes are not. But they're all quavers, and you'll sing them all at exactly the same speed. Nothing changes. So that's just a bit of inconsistency. Sorry, go on, Paul.
At May the tenor and the lead sing those notes at the same time?
Correct, yes.
Are they slightly different? Just May, the.
No, they're at absolutely the same time. Yep.
Same time. Okay.
You're just thinking of the way our tenors might sing them, Paul. Hang on, we've got one here. Hang on. We're not talking too much about that. I actually meant Novatones, yeah, not ours. Yeah.
Good save.
Okay, anything else here that jumps out at us? Okay, let's have a look here. See the
Peter,
clef? Yeah.
Peter, can I just mention that in going over the stuff you did last week, I actually turned on TE Tuner, and that's got very helpful rhythms to the subdivisions of the notes on it that you can just play and sing to it or clap to it or something like that. If the others have got TE Tuner from the other choruses.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, TE Tuner is a very useful little program for tuning. You can sing a note and it'll tell you whether it's in tune or not. You get it from the Google Play Store or from the Apple Store. I think it only works on phones and tablets. It's not a computer program, I think. But it has quite a lot of stuff that it does. You can use it as a pitch pipe, and you can use it to check your pitch. That's mainly what it's for, but it seems like it's good for rhythms as well. I haven't tried to do that. It has a metronome.
Got a lot of subdivisions in there and a lot of the things that you went over last week.
Okay. So if you're interested, you can download that. It's not, I can't remember what it's worth, like $2 or something. It's not expensive.
I think it's $5.
$5. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Peter, speaking of the TE Tuner, I was playing around with it, seeing if I could pitch a note. And you know what you've said about having to be resonant before being fully resonant?
Mm.
I can sing a note not fully resonant, and it doesn't dial me up. It doesn't give me the right note until I pump in a little bit more resonance.
That's
changing the note, but making the voice more resonant. And you say, "Oh no, if you're not resonant, you're singing flat. It's not working." This wretched thing was telling me I was doing that every time.
Funny that. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. There you
so
go.
it was good practice. Good practice for me to make sure that I was actually singing as the most resonant way I possibly could.
Okay. Good point.
And it dialed me up.
All right, let's have a look at this one. So here we have something that we haven't talked about. See this little curve with a dot underneath? This is a pause mark. So a pause doesn't have any technical length. It just means extend that note somewhat, and it's kind of left up to the performer's discretion as to how much you're going to pause. So it's a relatively common thing you'll see around in a lot of arrangements.
Or the fermata.
Also a fermata, which is the Italian name for it.
Is it actually a pause or is it an extension of the note?
It's an extension of the note, yeah. So you pause on that note. It doesn't mean have a rest. It means make the note longer.
Yeah.
All right, so it doesn't mean stop.
No, definitely not stop.
It means extend. So whatever you're doing, do it for longer.
So you'll see sometimes a pause over a rest. So obviously that means have a longer rest. But when it's over a note, you extend that note and make it longer. Okay, anything here? Any questions?
What's that one
That'd
there?
be great.
Just up.
Sorry?
It's not an 8. Next to bar 12, there are
Semi-breves.
Oh, that's two
2
semi-breves.
semi-breves.
Yeah, okay.
Peter, I'm not sure if you covered it last week because I couldn't attend last week. But could you tell me the notes for the bottom for the bari and the bass? Like, what are the notes from the bottom up?
We haven't covered that yet at all.
Oh, we haven't.
No.
Okay.
So you haven't missed that. Is someone having a conversation in the background, or is there somebody?
Not at my end.
I hear
How
it.
about
But I
you
can
mute
hear it.
everybody, Peter?
I can hear it.
Yeah.
Probably, possibly my daughter in the office next door, which is called the dining room.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to mute you for now, Rob. Okay. I can't see anything there. So here's the dotted crotchet, dotted quaver to semi-quaver that you'll see quite commonly. We talked about that last week.
No.
So that's da-da, da-da. So if we sang this one technically as it's written, it would be da-da-da-da-da. Dinah, won't you blow? In practice, when we sing this, we sing Dinah, won't you blow? We actually put that rhythm on both sets of quavers, but that's the way it's written. Okay. The little dotted line, does everyone know what that means?
Transfer of the melody.
Correct. Yeah, so this is probably something I've only seen in barbershop music. It's just there to tell you that the melody is moving from the lead part down into the bass part at that point, and you'll find later on somewhere, here's the one, where the melody goes from the bass back to the lead. It just helps us to know who's got the tune at the various points in the song. Okay, I don't think there's anything else there. Kentucky Babe. Okay, so here's another 2 quavers equals crotchet quaver triplet. So if we were to sing this as written, we'd sing, skeeters are a humming on the honeysuckle vine. That's pretty exciting, right? It is a lullaby, so I guess that's all right. But the way the arranger's saying we should sing it is, skeeters are a humming on the honeysuckle vine. Yeah, so we give it a swing. Yep. Okay, I don't know if there's anything else here. Just yell if you see anything.
Bar 21.
Bar 21, yeah. What are you looking at?
You got a not a tie between the thumbnail, yeah.
Yeah.
In the barrack part, yeah. What's that called? It's not a tie. It's effectively the same thing, but it's called a slur. When it's between different notes, it's called a slur. So it's just saying you're going to sing those 3 notes on one breath in this case.
Peter, it was interesting in bar 3 that the tie, that the bar connecting the quavers isn't, so that you actually get a different rhythm in bar 3.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. So you would not connect 2 quavers here because the beat, it's 4/4, right? So the beat is, let me get my little brush out. the beat is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the beat occurs in the middle of this dotted crotchet, but it is then exactly on this second quaver and then in the middle of this dotted crotchet. You would very rarely, if ever, beam between two notes that cross a beat like that because it makes it difficult to read. Someone
The
sounds like
baby.
they're in pain.
Yeah, it could be my dog.
It's,
Is he
Okay.
snoring? Can you hear the snoring?
It didn't sound like snoring, but anyway, that's all right.
Oh.
it's
We
been
make
locked up for
allowances
2
for
months
dogs.
can do that to you.
Okay, so that's about it. I think I don't know that there's anything else we should look at with rhythm right now. There are a couple of other things that I want to look at with rhythm, but we'll do that later. Any questions about anything to do with rhythms or any of the stuff we've covered up to now?
I'm not sure what you just did with the beats of that bar 3 on Kentucky Bay. I'm not sure why you put the blue lines where you did.
Okay, so let's go over that. Let me grab my little pencil back again. Okay, so beat 1's here. Everybody agrees on that one, right? So how many beats for a dotted crotchet?
1.5.
1.5.
1.5. Okay, so the second beat actually occurs before the end of the dotted crotchet because the second beat is after 1 beat, but the dotted crotchet goes for 1.5 beats. So if we were to clap the beat, so 1, 2, 3, 4, sleep Kentucky babe. So the beat is actually faster than the first note. The sleep note goes longer than a single beat. So the second beat is here in between notes. Then we've got another half beat. So by the sleep and Ken make up the first 2 beats of the bar. We've got 1.5 plus half. So there's your first 2 beats. Your third beat is right on tuck. Your fourth beat is after E because we've only got half a beat here and you sing E after half a beat. So the fourth beat comes during E. Does that make sense?
Sort of, not really.
Okay, so if we
It sounds
actually,
difficult to do.
if we write in the beats, so it's 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So we're just putting in the and to make it easy to count that. So it's 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and. Can you see how the beats kind of come in between some of the notes there in this case? Because we've got notes that go longer than 1 beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions before we start on the exciting world of pitch?
That's pretty good, Pete.
Okay, all good. While we're here, let's have a look at the clefs. So we did talk a little bit about clefs in week 1. So you notice this is a men's arrangement. So the bass clef is an ordinary bass clef. The treble clef has an 8 underneath it. What does that mean? Anyone remember?
Yeah, you did tell
You
us.
sing an octave down.
So it's an octave lower, yeah. So if this was a women's arrangement, and I don't have one, I don't think, here on my computer, the treble clef would have no 8, and the bass clef would have an 8 above, meaning sing an octave higher than what is written. Okay? All right, so let us go to here.
Peter,
Yes.
just before you go, where in Kentucky Babe, in the key signature, the
Yeah.
treble clef and the bass clef rather, isn't there some way of from that telling you what key it's in because of where the clef is placed or something?
No. So the
No.
key and the clef are two completely different things. So let's cover clefs first and the notes, and then we'll talk about keys, probably not tonight, because we've got 15 minutes or so left. All right, so let me now share with you my music program. Where is it? Here it is. And I've got a piece of music up. Okay, this is not the one we want to look at. Let us open another one. Hang on. Okay, you might recognize this one. All right, let me add some bars. Oops, what have I done? Oh, there we go. What's going on here? Doesn't want me to type. Keeps taking me to the user manual. It must think I'm lost.
Obviously don't know what you're doing, Pete. That's what
Well, I thought that was obvious, yeah. And the program has worked it out. I've been busted. I'm just going to close it. Yeah, it's not happy at all. I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to have to...
How many measures? I would have put just how many bars do you want in there?
Yeah, I'm trying. It won't even let me type.
Oh.
I'm going to have to do a hard reset on it. Let me get rid of it. Here we go.
Would it be that you're still using your pencil?
No, I haven't got my pencil.
All right.
Okay, let me try that again. Sorry, it wasn't supposed to work that way. I'm just going to get the file open before I share it again. Okay, that looks better. That's happy now. All right, here we go. Share screen. Finale. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's forget about everything up the front. We'll just have a look at this one. And I forget how to zoom. Oh, it's up here somewhere. It's not very happy tonight. Okay, so that should be reasonably large on your screens right now, I hope.
Yeah.
So we've got a treble clef and a bass clef. So let me share sound. Whoops, wrong button. I'm not having much luck tonight. There we go. Back again. Let me share the sound with you. Can you hear this?
No.
No.
Okay.
And that treble clef doesn't have an 8 under it either.
No, that's all right. Okay, so let's forget about that then. So when we're talking about a clef, what's the reason we put a clef in?
To give you the or the note scales.
So yeah, so we know what the notes are.
To tell you which system you're on, because there are two.
There are many more than two. There are lots of clefs. The treble and bass clef are the two common ones. And you'll probably never see any others unless you play a weird instrument like a viola or something. So in the treble clef, the notes on the lines E, G, B, D, F. Oh, whoops.
We can
F.
hear that.
Oh, it's working now. Okay. So the easy way to remember that, every good boy deserves fruit. Okay, so that's the lines in the treble clef. These are just things that you need to learn and know. There's no easy way to get it other than just by knowing these little rhymes that help to remind you of what they are. The spaces in the treble clef, F, A, C, whoops, E for face. In the bass clef, good boys deserve fruit always, and all cows eat grass.
I don't know why you bother with the bass clef though.
Why is that?
Nobody needs it.
Spoken like a true tenor. Okay, so they're all of the notes that you need to know on the clef. So then you have little things called ledger lines. And so if you go above, then you'll notice little lines are added. And the same below. So the reason we use clefs and we don't have every instrument using the same clef, which would in theory make life easier, is because it's difficult to read ledger lines. And so for high instruments, you need a clef that kind of covers the range of a higher instrument or a higher voice. For a lower instrument, you need a clef that covers their range so that the majority of what they're going to play or sing is going to be in the clef. The notes are going to be inside the staff, not above or below with lots of ledger lines, because reading ledger lines is hard work.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Nigel.
Does this program change the color of those crotchets to make you realize that you're over 2 or something?
No, whatever instrument it thinks I'm writing this for, it says that note is outside the range of that instrument for an intermediate player of the instrument.
Oh,
it's just a handy little thing to say, if you're writing this for an intermediate player, they're going to struggle to play that note or sing that note. So just ignore those. Don't worry about the color. Okay, so, yeah, someone said something. No? Okay. So this note here is middle C.
So Peter, sorry, it's just worth noting that in the case of these notes where you get it above the ledger lines, you're just repeating the same nomenclature, aren't you? F, A, C, E, D,
No,
E.
no. So you need to work it out. That's why we don't like ledger lines. I think all musicians hate ledger lines, especially like I play the violin, and sometimes a lot of music is up. See those high notes there? I play notes higher than that. And sometimes a whole phrase might be way up there. And so to work out which note is what, you've actually got to sit down and sometimes even work it out manually, because it's very hard to read ledger lines. I can read a sheet of music inside the staff like I read a book. It's that easy, but when there's ledger lines, it's difficult. So we avoid ledger lines for that reason. That's why we use funny clefs sometimes. So let's go back to first principles. So I've put middle C here. I'll put it down here again. So in both clefs, that note is middle C. So in bass clef, it's the first ledger line above. and in treble clef, it's the first ledger line below. So those two notes there are the same note. The reason it's called middle C is because it's roughly in the middle of the piano keyboard. So you can...
So between those two clefs, isn't it?
sorry, that broke up. Say that again, please.
Just saying it's also in the middle of the two clefs. Like the note that's in the middle of it.
Correct, yes. Yeah.
Sorry, just making a realisation.
Absolutely right. Okay, so when you go up one note, you go from the line. So this note here, middle C, is on the line to the next space. So this is middle C. This is D. Whoops. This is D. So we go up to the next space. The next line is E. The next space is F, and so on. And we just keep going up the scale. And so on the staff, we can use those every good boy deserves fruit. But then as soon as we get to F, then they run out. So then we have to start just working it out. So that's F. So the next space is G. The next ledger line is A, B, C, D, E, and so on. And you can just keep going. There's no limit to how many ledger lines you can have. For an instrument like a piccolo, they would play with a very different clef because otherwise they would have millions of ledger lines. And the same applies going down.
A really good tenor.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I think they've invented a clef for Tim Warwick. They've called it the Warwick clef. Yes. Okay, so going down, we've got C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, and then we just keep going down, line space, line space, line space. Okay, and the notes just go one to the next. Okay, so it's not difficult, it's just learning to recognize where you are and where the notes go. Any questions about any of that stuff?
No.
Okay.
When you have the
learning,
when you have the treble clef with the octave lower, then middle C is going to be not on a ledger line, but in the third gap.
So that would be middle C if the 8 was underneath the treble clef. The purple note is middle C then. In effect, it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference to us because we kind of know what range we're going to sing in. The main thing is that we know what note is what. Okay, so you just need to learn those rhymes and just start looking at music and working out what notes are what. It's not hard, but you've got to do it quite a bit before you can just look at a music and say, oh, that's an A or that's a B or whatever. So as you sing more music with your choruses or whatever, it will just start to come, but it will take weeks and months probably before you get to be somewhat fluent in it. And that's normal. There's no shortcut for that I know of, other than just doing it and using it. Okay, so then we have things called accidentals.
Peter, just before you go on to that, can you just go over the bottom notes, please, from the middle C? Yeah.
So what they are?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's just go backwards through the alphabet. So we've got C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. So now we're an octave lower than middle C.
Yeah.
C, B, and so on. Yeah?
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Good boys deserve fruit always, and all cows eat grass.
Yes. So I didn't say this before, but we only use notes from A to G in music. There's no F. Sorry, there's a... It must be past my bedtime. There's no H. There is an F. There's definitely an F. Yeah.
What
right.
the H, Peter?
What's that?
I said, what the H?
There is no H. Okay.
Someone got my joke.
Yeah, sorry.
I always thought there's an H in the tenor line. Dan's like, hell, you don't want me to sing that?
Okay. So let's talk about accidentals. So this one is a flat. So a flat makes the note a semitone low, and we haven't talked about semitones, so we need to talk about that right now. So a semitone, in Western music, a semitone is the smallest distance between two notes. So is a semitone. Another term that you might hear quite often is a tone. A tone is two semitones. So a tone is semitone, tone. Can you hear the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this will be something probably that your director talks about a bit. And it's useful to know how to sing a semitone or a tone, because often in your part you will find a bit which is a semitone higher or a semitone lower than maybe somebody else's note, and that gives you the note that you need to come in on or whatever. It's I don't know. In my choruses, it's a thing that we use a lot. So tones and semitones are useful. We will talk later about other intervals, so fourths, fifths, that sort of thing. But right now, let's just talk about tones and semitones. Okay, so
Peter, I
Yeah.
always thought a semitone was actually the midpoint between two tones.
it is, yeah. So a semitone is half a
Okay,
tone,
right.
as the name suggests, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so a semitone is the smallest possible interval, and a tone is two semitones. So you're absolutely right. So a flat makes a note one semitone lower than what it was without the flat. And so a note without a flat or a sharp is called a natural. Let me see if I can put a natural in. No, I'll have to change the note for this to work.
We won't let you on a key
There we go.
signature of C with it.
Okay, so there's a
There
natural.
you go.
So the purple note has a natural in front of it. It's called an accidental. The accidental always comes before the note. Okay, so we've got here, what note is this? The black note?
G.
G flat.
Correct, and it's a G flat. That's right. And so this one is G natural.
Oh, G natural. Oh, what's the sharp?
So it's
And
a
then-
semitone.
And then we have the
Yeah.
sharp, you're quite right, which is, if I get my right thing here, which is a semitone higher than if that note was a natural. So this is a B sharp, which is a semitone higher than a B natural.
The thing that has been my biggest stumbling block, Peter, and you probably won't cover it today, but just to put it out there, is I don't understand why the concept of music isn't quite symmetrical. So, for example, it doesn't go on the piano keyboard white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black the whole way. So, in other words, to restate my conundrum, there's a semitone between C and D and between D and E, but there's no semitone between E and F, and whatever else happens at the other end of the thing, which I haven't worked out yet. Probably.
Yes, yeah, I
You
get
know.
what you're saying. And it's because of the physics of sound that happens. And it's also because we've tried to impose our system on naturally occurring sounds, and it doesn't just quite work in a uniform way. So in that instance, you just have to accept that this is the system we use, and this is the way it works.
I've always wondered if that's why you say you have to sing this note slightly higher or slightly lower than you think, or this is a small semitone or something.
Yeah, that's a whole different ball game, and we won't go there today. That's to do
No.
with tuning, which is all about overtones and different intervals. We will get to that, but not today, and won't
Okay,
next week or the
well,
week
I hope
after.
one day to understand it.
Yes, good. I would like all of us to understand that. Okay, so right now we're talking about accidentals. So there are also, how do I get this one? There is also a double sharp and a double flat, and you will see them, which is why I want to show this to you. I just got to work out how to get them.
There was one in one of the pieces of music you were showing us earlier today.
Yes,
Double sharp.
they're actually reasonably common in barbershop music. You'll see them all the time, and so you need to know what they look like. And rather than me try to find it in the software, I am going to pull up the music and show them to you. Let me change my share, stop share, and we will go back to this one. Okay, and now we need to find the music that had it. It wasn't Railroad. It might be, oh no, it's not Irish Blessing. So while I'm trying to find it, double flat is easy. It just looks like two flats together. So there'll be two flat signs almost on top of each other. That is a double flat. Okay, while we're here, you'll notice here's a flat in brackets. The reason you'll see that is the arranger is just reminding you that.
Whereabouts?
So can you see on the screen where my pointer is? Yep.
Yep.
So one thing I should mention, when you put a mark, like in this case, it's a natural on this A in the bass clef, it carries through the bar. So for the rest of that bar, unless it's changed by a flat, that A is going to be A natural. But when you get to the next bar, it goes back to being A flat by default. The arranger here is just reminding you that it really is A flat. So it's technically not needed. He's actually just being nice and saying, oh, by the way, this one is an A flat. So you'll see that quite commonly. Sometimes it's not even in brackets. They'll just put the flat or the natural or the sharp or whatever it is. The reason that this is an A flat, by the way, is it's here in the key signature. Okay, so it's going to be A flat every time you sing it, except in this case, they've said this one's a natural. And then in this bar, on the word not, it goes back to being a flat. Okay, sorry, we got a bit off the track there. I'm looking
Peter, before you leave that page, there was an X above one of the notes. I think you might want to dwell on that.
An X above a note, again, that's a barbershop notation thing. That just tells you that the parts cross.
Yeah.
So instead of in this case, the bari part is the low note and the bass part is the high note.
Correct.
And in the reason for this is that the basses actually have the melody right here. So you don't want to transfer the melody for one note into the baris. So you're going to have the baris sing lower. I don't think there's any in this one. Daydream, that's a prime suspect for a few double sharps. Let's have a look. Okay, now this looks confusing. This is a flat sharp. It's a very interesting note. It's actually, the sharp is on the tenor note. See how the sharp is on the line?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the flat is in the space. So the flat is for the leads and the sharp is for the tenors. There is no such thing as a flat sharp. That's just two different notes that happen to be very close together. You won't see that very often. And there's no double sharps here either.
I suppose. Just explain it.
I think it actually was Railroad, Peter.
What's that?
I think it actually was Railroad, the one where we saw it.
Was it Railroad?
I think so.
Railroad doesn't strike me as being the sort of song that would have. Because it doesn't change key.
So what's it do, Pete? What's the...
So a double flat means that you go down 2 semitones below the normal note, and a double sharp means you go up 2 semitones above the normal note.
So it's a tone.
Correct. So you go up or down by a tone instead of by a semitone. Now
Alright.
this, by the way, this is not a double sharp. This is a sharp, a D sharp for the tenors and a C sharp for the leads.
And it continues through the bar.
Correct.
So why would they put the double flat or the double sharp rather than move the note down?
Here we go. So see this note here in bar 36? It's got a little cross next to it. That is a double sharp. There's another one here.
On there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there one at the beginning of 35 as well?
Yes, there is there in the lead note. There's a double sharp there. Okay, so that's double flat's easy. You'll just see two flats beside each other. Double sharp is like that little funny cross. So I won't go looking for a double flat because I don't know if there was any, but that's what a double sharp looks like. All right, so
I would
we've...
have thought with all the sharps clustered around the clef, there was quite enough sharps in that bar.
That's right, yes, yes, without making one doubly sharp. So the reason for a double sharp is that this is F. F was already sharp because of the key signature. So here's the F sharp in the key signature. And so if you want that note up a semitone, it needs to be F double sharp rather than, you could write, what could you write instead of F double sharp?
G.
You could write G, yeah.
Well,
So
why don't they?
it's technically not the same note. Because of the harmonic
crazy.
series. It's not crazy. It's actually easier to read F double sharp than it is to read G, because look at G is already sharp, so you would need to write G natural. So it kind of makes more sense to write F double sharp, plus it is a slightly different note. If it's on the piano, it's the same note. F double sharp and G, you press the same key.
It's crazy for us, but not crazy for you.
Well, yeah, when we talk about, this is later on, when we talk about tuning and harmonic series, it does make a big difference.
Okay.
Well, it makes that much difference, but it is important if you want the chord to ring. So
is a double sharp other than just a barbershop notation?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's used in all sorts of music. Yep, yep, it's not barbershop by any means.
Next week, Peter, I'd like you to bring your violin and play the difference between F double sharp and G.
I could do that. I could sing you the difference between F double sharp and G. So here's a, I don't know what the note is. I'm just going to sing you a note and we'll call it a double sharp, and then I'll sing you the other note. So, it's a subtle difference. Can you hear it?
But yeah, just.
Very subtle. It will make a difference in tuning a chord. That's where it matters. So for us right now, it probably just seems like an extra complication that we don't need. But when you're tuning a chord, it matters. Okay. I think we should leave it there for tonight. Has anyone got any questions about any of the things we've covered tonight?
No, that's pretty good, Peter.
I had one suggestion, which is because I have never bothered to learn to become familiar with the note positions, particularly the treble clef. But I thought maybe making up some flashcards would be a good way of learning the notes that you could, you know what I mean by flashcards, like the answers on the back. So you draw up a stave and you put the note on the stave and you have them all jumbled up, and then you can get someone to test you or do it yourself.
Yeah, you can do that. There's probably 100 ways you can do it, but you've just got to plug away at that one. It's not I don't think there's an easy way out. But if anyone finds a wonderful easy way, then that's great. But you just need to know about boys eating fruit and cows eating grass. That's the main thing.
Peter, is it more important to know the name or to know what the note sounds like?
Technically, you don't need to know the name. So when I'm reading music and playing it on a violin, for example, and I might be sight reading a piece I've never seen before, I'm not thinking G, A, B, C, whatever. I just know where that note is.
Yeah, first, second, third fret. Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
If we're using our voice as the instrument, it would be good to get a sound attached to what that note is.
Yeah, and we will be doing that. But I think we need to know the note names because it is important. Like later on, if you want to say, oh, what chord are we singing here? You can actually work it out by looking at, oh, it's a G, B, D. Oh, it's a G major chord. So it is important that you can at least work out the note names. You don't have to be able to sight read a piece of music and know every note that you're singing by name. But you need to be able to work them out.
All right, good.
Any other questions?
Oh, thank you, Peter.
Just a little bit of information. You know, they found the first COVID victim.
Did they?
Yeah, worked it out. It's a Chinese fellow called Ah Chu. See you later.
Thank you very much for that. Yes.
Thanks,
Peter.
Bye.
See you
Leave
next
them
week.
laughing. Bye-bye.
Peter.